Hey,
Recording.
Tiffany. Uh,
Hi. It's good
thanks
to
for
see you.
yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for making the time for this.
Absolutely.
Only my second video testimonial, but you and I chatted a little bit before this about how important it is right now for people to be able to hear directly from real people about the experience of a QHHT session.
Mhm.
Take it,
Absolutely.
make it real for people. So thanks again.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. For those of you watching, hi, my name is Sarah Mount. I'm a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner level 2, currently serving in Southern Nevada. And this lovely person you're going to meet is Tiffany. She and I had the pleasure of meeting each other at a recent trip to Asheville, both of us away from home, me away from Nevada, her away from Oklahoma. And though we are both QHHT practitioners, it was the first time we were meeting each other. And
Yes.
it wasn't upon our initial meeting that we decided to do a session together, but I'm going to throw it over to you, Tiffany. What would you like the audience to know, like as a form of an introduction about that meetup and who you are?
Um, my name is Tiffany and I live in Oklahoma, in the Tulsa area. Um, the retreat in Asheville is my first actual retreat, full retreat. And I met you. I remember walking in and I was so nervous, like tearful. And I don't remember, someone had introduced us and you started talking to me and your voice was immediately calming. And I just started crying. And then, I think yeah, that was our first night. And then we went on to that night's activities. And then I remember just this internal voice going, offer yourself to do, for her to do a session on you. Just that inner voice. And I think your schedule was initially full whenever you're like, no, I think I have. I was like, oh, no big deal. It's all right. And then you had texted me, I think, that night or the next day saying, you had thought about it. And by then I was like, I'm over it. I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to have fun. I'm away from work. I'm going to have fun. Um, but after the next few days, I had decided to go ahead and allow the meeting to happen. And I'm glad I did.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked
Yeah.
away from that interaction when you offered or said you'd be willing to do a session. It just didn't feel right to me how I left that, and so I really felt into it, and it just felt right. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for your trust and allowing me
Yeah.
to witness this experience, which was profound. I'll tell you, some of the things that happened during your session are not only first for me, but like kind of blew open my mind with regard to what's possible during a QHHT session. I'm sure you've had sessions like that as well. And
Yeah, I've had a couple myself where I was just like, what? This is incredible. I'm so blessed.
so blessed, like like honored on a different level.
For sure.
So
For
that's the
sure.
story of how we met and the story of how we ended up making the decision to do a session. So I'm going to bring us to the day of your session. Uh,
Yes.
Arrived at your hotel room in Asheville.
Yes.
We started the interview, which is typically a couple hours, and that's how it went.
Uh,
What
yeah.
would you share with the audience about that experience, just the interview?
Just the interview. Quite honestly, I've been thinking about this all day and I don't actually remember much of the interview and I don't know why, but I remember just knowing going into it, like I am no Barthold. I mean, I'm going to just talk. And I knew that that's what I needed to do. And initially felt, I remember initially feeling a little apprehensive.
Mm.
Can I let all this out? And I felt like I had let like pieces of it out because I can be pretty private. And I thought, well, now I'm starting a new chapter. I'm going to let it all out. Don't care anymore. Don't care. Nobody cares. Not, and then nobody cares, but like they're going to listen or she's going to listen.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what I felt. And so I just went into it mindset that I'm going to let it all out.
And that is how
And
you did. Yeah. And, maybe it's been my experience. Did it feel like to you that we were just in our own little bubble somewhere? We went somewhere else. It's
oh
not,
yeah, we were not in Nashville. We were in a hotel room.
yeah. But just like in the connection and in the presence, that you have a hard time recalling the details of that experience, not surprising to me at all.
Good.
It's real common, and it was the case with me and you, that we
Hmm.
just get transported in connection and sharing. And yeah,
Hmm.
all of a sudden a couple of hours have passed. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it had been a few hours, and that's okay. And I knew that going into it, and I was like, I'm just gonna let this flow. I'm gonna let go and let it flow. And I think that's something that's really important for other individuals who go into, to do a session with somebody,
Yeah.
that it's okay, it's safe.
Yeah. Thank you for your trust. And we're so ready. You didn't mention this yet. I hope it's okay that I mention it, but this wasn't your first time at a session, right? So you had a couple of attempts, and maybe that's what you were suggesting, like that you had let people into some of your stories, but maybe not all of them. And this felt like time to do something different, and you made a different choice.
I did go with you, with the session with you. I went deeper than I ever had. It wasn't this was not my first time to meet who that the woman before that from my past. And I've gone to that scene before, and it's the same woman, same dress, but same hair, but this time I went deeper with more details. And that was incredible. It was so beautiful to meet her.
Yeah. So that's a really great segue. So after the interview, I made sure that I understood the questions that you wanted me to answer or wanted me to ask on your behalf while you were in
Hmm.
a deeply relaxed state. And so once I got clear on those, we both took a little bathroom break, came back and got you settled. I came
Yeah.
alongside you, put a mic on you, and
Hmm.
I told you a story to induce
Yeah.
a deep state of relaxation in you. So
Hmm.
what do you recall, both in the experience of like having gone through the experience, but then also now having listened to your recording back, what do you feel comfortable sharing about the first part of that experience?
Well, for some reason that dress is so
Mm.
prominent. Um, like I said, it's a bright blue dress. In some ways, it's like, gosh, she's so shallow. She loves her clothing. She loves her dress. But I think in that time, I haven't pinned down the year yet, but I want to say maybe early 1800s, maybe, middle 1800s. Um, I know I was very wealthy. And one thing that really stands out is my love for I don't know, she'd be my caretaker, the woman that took care of me, um, in that life. But how much I adored her and her friendship, my children, and my husband. Um, he's shown up before in other sessions when I've been regressed. This time I had more details, and that love was so pure on both sides. And it was just that could not get enough of each other, and not in an intimate way, but just who we were as people, just adored each other. And I felt that so deep this time. Yeah.
And as you talked through that, it was the first experience I've had as a practitioner, which is a relatively short period of time. Uh, would you agree, because you know what I'm saying when I say this, that you were definitely somnambulistic, like you were the other person. There was
Yeah.
there was no conscious awareness of Tiffany during that experience. You were her, you spoke as her,
Hmm.
your diction, your cadence, your accent, um, you were another person. And
I
it was
did.
powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, in this part here, and I can still feel it today on some levels, and not in a traumatic way or anything, but just that sensation. It takes away all the fear
Mm.
if there, when it comes to dying. But I had, I, I, it's like I felt, and I remember the night that I had conceived twins, my husband and I conceived the twins, that I did carry to terms, or to term. And then I had passed away at at the birth of them. I guess I bled out, but I died after their birth. And that slipping away, it was like I felt like I had just pancakes. Like I just
Mm.
drifted away. I wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And just that sinking feeling was so comfortable. I just couldn't hold on any longer.
Mm.
And just being really, really sad, for my husband then. I remember calling out his name and just being I'm so sorry. I can't hold on. And so that I can still feel that sinking, but it's with such love and gratitude too that I feel it today. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. As the person
Yeah.
observing it, witnessing this powerful experience for you, in a session, it's very common to move you from one important day to the next important day. And you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
that, like knowing of conceiving, you were so sure of that. You could feel it. You could describe it, how it felt in your body, how you knew that
Mm-hmm.
you had conceived. Then moved you forward to another important day and to the final day of your life. And this time you were giving birth to your twins. And it started off with, because you were this other person and you were giving birth, it was as if you were having a complete birth experience laying in the bed next to me. There were times where I moved out of my role as practitioner into like sort of a Lamaze coach, like just kind of saying like, you're doing great, and trying to support you through it. It was so intense and so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's like I could hear your voice in my head of telling me that I'm doing great. It's going to be okay. You're doing great. Okay. Just go with it.
Mm.
But you were just in my head. So it was like a mental coach for me.
Okay.
But then I had my husband John over here on the side. I remember wanting him there but then I don't know, it's just like you became, dare I say, a higher power. You were just in my voice, like you're doing okay, you're doing okay. But then my head mistress, I guess, or whatever she was to me, I don't even have her title in my head now. Um, but yeah, it was like you helped me through that. It was so cool.
So grateful I was there to
Yeah.
witness. And then
Yeah.
after both children, both of these babies that had been born had their first cry,
Hmm.
just the knowing in you, like, I think you said something to the effect of like, something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember saying like, oh, something's wrong, and then fading, like,
Yeah.
like not long after, I don't think. Um, I don't know how much time it was, but it wasn't very long after, I don't think.
Yeah. And
And then it's
you
just,
wanted John near you. You wanted him to know. And
hmm.
being just in that energy in the room with you, like I felt that slipping away. It was profound.
Really,
I've never experienced anything like that.
yeah, it was so beautiful, yet so sad in so many ways.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think about my husband then, and, um, how incredibly just, uh, his heart is torn out. I felt, and my children, because we're all so close,
Yeah.
but they had to carry on. So I do remember going in spirit form, like going and talking and whispering to them in their sleep and like giving them instructions and my wishes for them and wanting him to remarry someday just because the children would need a mother figure in their life. And, I'd wished him love and how much I loved him. And I had to let go because I loved him.
Yeah. It was so beautiful. Yeah, after that scene of you slipping away, it is a common experience to take a client through the death scene. And once they're on the other side, that I, as the practitioner, would ask, like, you could have seen and you could have been taken to see any life. Like, why were you taken to this one? What were the lessons? What was the purpose of that life? And your first order of business was to go each one to everyone that you loved and be with them and tell them so specifically and so lovingly how much you love them, the reason specifically that you loved each of them uniquely, and
Yeah.
just so much goodness for their future.
Yeah, it's like I could still see their little faces, their beautiful, soft, beautiful faces, and like leaning like over them. And it's like they knew I was there. It was just incredible. having that and experiencing that.
Yeah, even the twins that were just newborns at that point.
They were hours old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We go on to the portion of the session where I'm communicating on your behalf directly with your higher self or your soul and asking the questions that you want answers to. So
Yeah.
what would you feel comfortable sharing about that experience now that you've listened back to it on the recording?
Yeah. Yeah, there was, and asking like the reason why I had to see that life, and, um, I guess I had to see pure love and, and I had to see that again. I'd like to leave it at that, but, and then, current like health issues, it's like I was trying to propagate some trees recently, and there's some, I call them blue Charlie Brown trees. I don't know what they are. Anyway, I wanted to propagate them. I've been doing a fine job with everything except the trees. Anyway, I had let the branches stay too long in my tub in my new house, and the water had turned rancid, and my fingers had swelled and my joints had swelled. They weren't pain. They were just swollen. I'm not getting my rings on anymore. I have rings on and I can wear them fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one thing that I had requested, can that be healed? Is there something wrong with my joints? But luckily there's not, and there isn't. But yeah, since then, I'd say that probably my hands have healed quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
I think it was on a slow progression, but it's definitely sped up quite a bit.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And then,
What, just like body wise or emotional wise, and
I'm sorry.
what else have you noticed since the healings that happened during the session in your body or in your emotion?
There's something wrong. There was, my right side, like lower neck, like right here. I haven't had that pain. I mean, I have to go to the chiropractor on a regular basis just to have my neck adjusted. And, I've gone once since I've been back, and I got back. What did we get back? I think I got back on the 29th, of May. And so, yeah, I've gone a couple weeks. Haven't, I think I've gone once. But even then he was like, no, you have a knot, but it's just from tension. It's not, it was so different, so I think that there's continued healing there. And then, in my lower back, this, lower back pain that I have on my left side, I recall my higher self saying it was the result of the childbirth from my twins that I had, because it was just so traumatic. And, yeah, my lower back hasn't really been bothering me so much. And I haven't restricted any movement or anything. It's been carrying on like I normally do, but it's felt fine.
Beautiful.
So I appreciate that healing.
As a result of seeing that scene and being reminded of that experience, and then asking your higher self, like, had you learned everything that you needed to learn from that experience? And could you be released from that experience? And it sounds like that has been almost fully resolved.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And then you got some specific instructions, I think, or things to be reminded of with regard to the neck pain. Should that recur, this new lens was offered to you through your higher self. In addition to what sounds like a total shift, like anatomically or like physical presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so I've been following my instructions, and, and it's been really good.
Very cool.
Absolutely. I just don't have that tightness anymore. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I counted you out. You came out with no complications. And when I do that, I often ask, like, how long do you think you're out? And I remember you reported something that was significantly less amount of time.
Yeah. How much did I say? I don't remember what I said. Do you remember?
I don't know, but it was like about half, like, so maybe an hour, and then it was 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else, final details for that session experience that you think it would be helpful for the audience to know about?
I can't think of anything right now. other than, if someone is really struggling with something or they just need answers. They're just curious, a QHHT session could start to break open and lead them in the right direction to find the answers that they really need, to help them cope and to move forward through something that they are going through.
Thanks for
To
that.
take those steps.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And then before we finish up today, you and I share a unique history or like life experience. That the folks that watch my content know that I was for about 16 years a psychotherapist in private practice and community-based mental health. You yourself were still in practice as a therapist.
Yes.
That's one of the things that, I find unique about our connection, but also unique potentially in our mission to make others aware of the potentials of a QHHT session and how that is in contrast in some really important ways to the experience of being in traditional talk therapy. So I'll start by saying one of the main differences that I think is really important for people to understand is that it is inherently true that two people who are trying their best to get to know each other in the context of a therapy session, a therapist and a client, both come to that conversation having had their own life experiences, and they're telling stories and hearing stories through the lens or the filter of their own personal life experiences. So a skilled and seasoned therapist is always going to hear the experience of the client through that lens of their own experience.
Yes.
Their education and knowledge, that is not, I'm not dismissing that at all.
Right.
What I find is so powerful with Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, or QHHT, is you take all of that potential for being lost in translation or misunderstanding and you remove it. And what you replace it with is direct connection between the client and their own higher self, that deeply wise, eternal part of themselves that has all answers and knows every experience that this soul has experienced in all the lifetimes that they've ever lived.
Yes.
So you take out that potential for misunderstanding and you insert this like clarity and direct communication. What would you say about that?
I would say you're spot on. And, as we had spoken earlier, and that, as whether it's a life coach or mental health professional, for me, I own my own practice. I'm a solo practitioner, have been for over a decade now. And I only see they can tell me, I listen to their stories, we work through it, we process through it, but it is only through the lens that I can see, and there's so much of, I don't care how long I've known them, other client that I will never see. And so when there's so much healing that needs to be done, or just answers, they just want some answers. You're just curious, like, why do I do this? I was like, I don't know, I would love to walk with you through that to help you figure out why.
Give you my best guess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, going through a hypnosis session like this and letting them talk to themselves and themselves tell them, this is why, this is what's going on, this was the lesson, this was the purpose. And it just opens up. And being a mental health professional and going through and also being a QHHT practitioner, and then having sessions done on me and how I've grown and the answers that I've received, being able to have the two of them, whether the person is in, they're going through actually, we're working with a mental health professional, or like I said earlier, even like a life coach or whatever it is for them, whatever they need, but to have more answers and more clarity so that they can take that next step in their life, just to free them. It's just, wow, there just are no words. Other than freedom.
In a complete and like total resolution kind of way. Because what we find out in QHHT, what clients find out is like the root cause of things that are manifesting in their body, either as physical ailments that like when considered by a physician maybe get called symptoms, maybe get called
Mm-hmm.
a collection of symptoms, a disease or a disorder. And then emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
QHHT helps the client understand like the root cause of things that are showing up for them emotionally. So what a trained mental health professional might call a diagnosis of a mental health condition. And so many of them these days are considered to be like lifelong, or like that you
Mm-hmm.
can't ever be cured of them.
Right.
What I
Right. Or genetic, and in some ways it might be, but it's for reasons that have been passed down, for whatever reason, depending on what is going on and what is going on with that individual or their family. But yeah, you make a good point that I'd left out about the healing that can happen and being able to understand that and where it came from and to release that and the energy that is stored in the certain parts of our body. Like, for instance, my back, something I've struggled with, no, most of my life, honestly.
yeah
But now knowing, like, okay, yeah, okay, I can release that. I can let that go.
yeah
It was from there. I don't need it here. And so, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you again for your willingness to be so vulnerable and open about such a powerful and like deeply personal experience.
Well, I appreciate you allowing the space.
Yeah.
I'm glad I finally agreed to meet with you that time. I was like, okay, fine, I guess I'll do it. But I think it was needed between the two of us, especially, with our background and how we met and, me coming to you like crying. That first day, I'd already driven like 14 hours there and got there late and you just were just so open, just like telling me without telling me, it's okay, I've got you. And you did in so many ways that I didn't know at the time. So
Thank you. Thank you
yeah,
so much for letting me witness.
definitely. Absolutely. So, but yeah, I appreciate this space and thank you.
You're welcome.